Okay, today we're going to have a look at one of these PowerTech battery boxes that you can buy at Jaycar. They actually come from some other company. Well, I assume they are. Might be part of them. Distributed for tech brands by Electus Distribution Proprietary Limited, Victoria Road, Rydalmere, is it? New South Wales. Techbrands.com, made in China. HB8504, I guess is the Jaycar catalogue number, no doubt. And yes, it is a catalogue HB8504, $70 at your local Jaycar store. So here's the actual box itself. Got two Anderson connectors, which are rated at, I think, quite a high current, 20 amps by the look of it. Oh, 50 amps actually. Oh, power socket. Oh, so that's must be this one. You've got your old cigarette lighter type one, which obviously is fine with a 12 volt battery, but you can put other voltages in here. You've got your USB ports, 5 volt at 2 amps, 5 volt at 1 amp. It's got this little reset on off switch, and this has actually got a battery in here, and it's sitting on 16.4 volts because I've set this up for 24 volt use with a couple of smaller batteries for someone's gate. Comes with two terminals on here. They've got plastic protective covers at the moment, but they'd be handy if you've got a 12 volt battery and you want to actually clip on some jumper leads or put on a couple of big wire terminals there, such as these ones I actually pulled out of one of these boxes. You could put in on there to connect into something. Got a handle on it, and there's a strap here. You've got to fit the strap yourself. There's two screws either side, and you've got to fit one of the ends on the straps. There's a little bit of assembly there, and even with that strap, it's got these two clips on the end. But it says even with that strap, if you're putting a big heavy battery in here, you're not actually meant to carry it with the handle, which is a bit silly, putting a handle on there and then you're not allowed to use it. When the battery's been installed, do not use the upper handle to carry both sides, or do not use the upper handle to carry. Should be full stop. Both sides of the grooves should be used. So those two other clips, I think they mean carry it on the edges, which does make sense if you put a really big battery in there. Rather than carrying it in the middle, that plastic's probably going to flex and not be the best. Even with that strap there, I don't know if you even need to have the strap on there, but it does give it a bit of extra strength to the thing. I've actually set this up with a couple of smaller sealed lead acid batteries. This has got a couple of 12 ampere hour ones. I know I did set up another one with a couple of 7.2 ampere hour ones, but they're supposedly reasonably weatherproof, which is yet to be tested. The guy at Jaycar did suggest if you really want to seal it up, you might want to pull these things out or just seal up around them with silicone. I don't know how this switch is going to go out in the weather. It does have various slots under here. I think there's two on the ends, two on one side. That's to let your air in. So of course when you charge these sort of lead acid batteries, you'll get hydrogen vented from them, so you need some fresh air in there and let that hydrogen gas escape, or you've got an explosion risk. So they're good, but they are so large that basically they just go straight into the box, that a mouse or something could crawl in there quite easily and get in and chew on your wiring. Spiders and stuff, because where this is going to be used is in the bush on the side of a driveway, so that may need some sort of thing, a bit of fly screen or something putting over that if it gets bad. And that's sort of the main features of this thing. You can have a look inside at the wiring and stuff. And it turns out this voltage meter, I've tested it from about 5 volts up to 30 volts and it reads it no problem. Because I did ask the guys there at Jaycar if it would run alright on 24 volts, and it seems to do that fine. Being an electronic meter, it's usually got quite a big range. I forgot to check the USB ports. I guess it's easy enough. Well, I need a plug to go in there. Check whether they actually run. We've got a blue light on there, so I assume we've probably got our 5 volts coming out. They should be able to regulate over a wider voltage range, I would think, but I'm not even sure what pins in these things is the 5 volts. I guess one way to find out is just carefully check. It's 2.7 there, 2.0, 5 volts. Yeah, I'm not sure what those other pins do. They might be for sensing or something, but between the outer pins we've got 5 volts. So I assume that will regulate. Obviously if you put a higher voltage or lower voltage battery on this, we're just going to get whatever the output is, in this case should be about 16 volts, because these batteries aren't fully charged. That'll be 24 volt or slightly higher when they're charged. So you do have to be aware of a few things like that. I've already modified this one from what it originally came with. But basically those two terminals you see on the outside are like junction points. And everything's kind of wired to that. The original had two leads like this from those points to go to the battery. So obviously those ends just go into the bolt, and they give you a couple of these sort of eyelets. So if you want to hook onto a normal car battery, you're going to need something like these extra. These clamps that normally go onto your batteries in your car. So you've got a bolt to put one of these eyelets. You can either go under those or the one on the battery. Some batteries, some of the smaller ones do have like bolts already attached to the terminals, but if you've just got the normal round terminals like in a standard car battery, you're going to need something to connect this to that. Some people I've seen even just put a screw down into the lead or something with a washer, and that may do the job if you're not drawing massive currents from it. So there's quite a bit of room in here. You can fit a normal, like at least a 550 cca battery should drop in here. 12 volt car, standard sort of size car battery. The smaller ones for smaller cars, yeah, will fit in no problem. Not sure about some of the bigger batteries once you get above that size, but it looks like it's got enough room to fit something bigger. But again, you're going to have to worry about the weight of lifting it. But all the basically you have is the batteries come directly to these two output terminals, no fusing, nothing like that. So if you hook jumper leads on, you're just straight across the battery. These Anderson plugs straight across the battery. The only thing that has any fusing or anything is via that little switch on the outside, which is a circuit breaker of some sort. It just says circuit breaker switch. I had a feeling I saw it was a 10 amp or something like that somewhere. So it's only that this bunch of sockets and the meter are all both switched and circuit breaker protected. Everything else here is just hardwired to the battery basically. So it's something I've still got to add on this. I'm actually going to put a fuse in between these two batteries just in case this gate opener they're using on it develops a fault or something chews on the wires and shorts out, because then it could be a potential bushfire risk or something. So I want that to be able to fuse out. But I've actually just basically pulled these two cables out of it, and you can add your own in their place. Just because it's such a big wire, I just use some small wires. Put some new eyelets and spade terminals on to run some smaller batteries, so it's perfect for this sort of thing. And there's not a lot more to it. That's kind of what those holes, those rectangle holes, is where your ventilation is, so they're quite large. I've used a little bit of foam just to hold these batteries and taped them together so they don't move around too much in there. And there's not a lot else to it really. That's kind of how it works. You just clip it up, put your strap back on, I guess, as a bit of extra precaution. I've actually made it so that if you get these Anderson plugs, you can get them. You do need a proper crimping tool, I think, to crimp them on, but you can solder them on. So you can buy them from Jaycar as well for about $10 each. I just made it so that this plugs into their gate controller unit via an Anderson plug, and I also bought one of the Jaycar multi-voltage lead acid battery chargers for about $30–40 I think they were. Automatic voltage detect, so it works on I think 6 through to about 24 volts, and I put one of these Anderson plugs on that as well, so these people can just unplug this out in the paddock from their controller, take it up to the house, because they haven't got 240 volts anywhere near their gate and the solar isn't working well in the winter, and they just plug the Jaycar charger in. That'll just charge those two batteries in series like it's one 24 volt battery. And that's all we really need to do. These are kind of the universal way of hooking onto a lot of things these days, so I thought I'd just go with what they've already got there. But you could change these obviously and put different connectors on here or something, or you could use the cigarette lighter plug if you wanted to, as long as you remember that it outputs whatever voltage the batteries are. So it says 12 volts at the moment, but it definitely puts out a lot more than that. Looks like the USBs will work fine even with 24 volt batteries and stuff. They should regulate, and the little meter takes a little while to boot up, so I'd say it's got some sort of little microprocessor in there, but it works fine from at least 5 to 12 volts. And I think that's about all there really is to it. So it's just, yeah, kind of reasonably weatherproof according to Jaycar, so hopefully it'll work out outside all right. It would be better, I reckon, with a cover over it or something, but you do have to leave ventilation because like I say, if you're charging the batteries inside this box, probably even if you don't, but it's mainly while you're charging, you'll get hydrogen gas build up, so it has to be ventilated. And yeah, that's about it really. You've got a little bit of assembly, just like I say, putting those 4 screws in, and these 2 brackets that comes without them attached and comes without the strap attached. I'm not sure if I got this strap on the right way. There's a little bit of a knack to getting the stuff wrapped around this. I get a feeling last time I did it slightly differently. So you sort of got to go in and around this piece and then adjust the length with the lid on it just to make sure the length is right. And that seems to work like that. You have to pull that a little bit tighter. But there's no instructions on how to actually fit the strap to this little piece that comes off the strap. I think they leave the strap free so that you can get it through these pieces once you mount them on there. And we should be able to just tighten that a bit. I'm not sure that's 100%. I'm pretty sure I did the other one slightly different and I can't remember how I did it. Oh, actually, was it the only other way you can really do it? I'm going round that first bit. I guess if you went round the first bit, and then that might be, that's how you do it, I think. That's how it's meant to go. So you come in the top with that serrated part, in through the back hole, then you got another little serrated bit that you go around the little sort of post in the middle, and then you come back out. I think, yeah, that's how you're meant to do it, I think, because that gives you that extra bite. Oh, now there's one on the other end. So yeah, that's how it's meant to go, and that's, yeah, super tight, and there's no way that's going to come loose. I could probably tighten that even a little bit more. I think that's how you're meant to do it. Probably better to have it the other way around so that that piece is on the bottom, but anyway, with a bit of fiddling around you can get it the right way around. And that's about all there is to it. So you've got a nice pre-made box. Will take fairly large batteries, but yeah, I do agree that I think this has got those, that's quite heavy. I don't know, it must be at least 15 kilos or more there, maybe even get more than 20. Handle seems pretty sturdy with that. It's not really flexing the case much, but yeah, if you put a full size 550 cca battery or bigger in there, maybe even a small car battery, this is probably getting close to that weight. You basically got to carry it by the ends, which isn't the worst thing on earth, but it's a two-handed job. Maybe they're even just telling you that because they don't want you straining one arm or something. I'm not sure what those batteries weigh, but they're getting pretty heavy. And like I say, if you're hooking a car battery up in here, you're going to have to get some sort of terminals to attach to the round terminal batteries. Some do come, like I say, with flat ones. Some even have bolt holes. I think the round ones with a flat bit and then a bolt hole in it, so you can bolt to them. As long as you get washers or whatever. These must be about a 10mm hole, I reckon. So you're going to need a reasonable size bolt or washers. Oh, it says 8 to 10, I think, so that would probably be the size of the eyelet there. That looks like the one that was, I know they're both the same. I thought maybe that one had been used, but they both got little marks on them. So you can remove these wires, or if you're doing it, if you really want to potentially use starter motors or other heavy loads, you want to obviously use the original ones. I'm only using something that pulls a few amps, probably up to about 4 at maximum. So I've used smaller wires, but yeah, keep the original ones in there. And yeah, the other option would be just to cut the eyelet off and stick it in the clamp in one of these Repco type. You can buy it Repco or Super Cheap or one of those sort of places. I don't know, maybe even Jaycar sell them. You could either go under the bolts, under those bolts, or just snip the end off, strip it, and put it in the normal clamping way. Though to be fair, I'm not sure how well they'd clamp in these. The wire's a little bit on the thin side, but it may work. But anyway, thanks for watching.